Well, today's court decision has nothing to do about fair share in border protection and European solidarity shown to Hungary.
No, but they have made a statement today saying that they will not be paying for that. They don't pay for border fences.
Yes, but you also have to know that Mr. Orban has also answered the letter from Mr. Juncker. And we believe that Hungary, being the first actually who responded by action, not by calling for help and asking for money, but from Hungarian taxpayer money, we acted and we have increased border protection personnel. We have built a fence and also introduced measures that help protecting not only the Hungarian but the European border as it is required by the Schengen and other protocols that are in place in the European Union.
You have a population of over 9 million people in Hungary. You're being asked to take in around 1,200 people. Is it really worth declaring war on Brussels and on the EU over such a tiny number of people?
And well, most definitely it's not about the numbers. For the past 3 years, Hungary has taken more than the quota which subscribed to Hungary.
But zero under this scheme?
But zero to that scheme. We have taken proper refugees who have an entitlement to step on Hungarian soil, wanted to stay in Hungary, and were in need of some kind of legal protection in hundreds every year. So altogether for the past 3 years, if I'm right, about 100,000. 1,400. The thing is that we believe that the quota system itself is a bad idea. The way it was extracted, today's court decision suggests was right, but we believe is against the will not only of the Hungarian people, but many other member states. And most certainly it is going around the will of the heads of state. So what we see here is a legal debate. Today's court decision was about the procedure the decision was made. And very obviously Hungary is going to pursue its fight against the quota system, the decisions, at all possible legal possibilities in the future.
Right. Now, this policy was a response, wasn't it, by the EU to an extraordinary situation, well over 1.5 million people trying to come to Europe. It is designed not essentially to help the refugees, but to ease the burden on your fellow EU members, that is Greece and Italy, who are on the front line and who are being overwhelmed with the number of arrivals. Do you not feel any sense of solidarity with your fellow EU member states?
Well, we have to remind your viewers and listeners that this is not exactly the case if it's about 2015. In that year, Hungary has witnessed over 400,000 people crossing its borders, heading to Western Europe. So you don't, and not anybody in Western Europe has to teach a lesson on us how to take a fair share and burden of what has happened back in 2015. Now, the situation, as we all know, was disorderly. What we are calling for is that the first measurement for solidarity, if there's any measure at all, is keeping the rules. And that's what we've seen for the past 2 years, that instead of keeping the old rules, the existing rules of the European Union, some started to suggest a new one, and that is the quota. We don't believe the quota, again, is a good idea. It's unexecutable, as we see. Nobody's staying where he or she is being assigned. So why are we going for a new measurement and then untenable solution or treatment of the migration crisis instead of keeping the existing rules, which are the clear and exact elements of solidarity? And that's why we have asked for reimbursing the extraordinary costs Hungary has paid for the past couple of years, and that is over 880 million euros altogether.
The migration crisis has been one of the biggest challenges to the European Union for many years, the biggest migrant crisis in the world since the Second World War. If you don't agree with the EU's way of doing things, with the EU policy, why do you not consider following the British and leaving the EU altogether?
Well, with all due respect, this is a stupid question because we believe that the European Union. Again,
well, that's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons that Britain cited leaving the EU to control its borders.
Well, one reason behind the British leaving the European Union was bad decisions on behalf of the European institutions. Now, we would like the European institutions to take good measures and good decisions instead of continuing on the path which is, again, untenable. So, again, with all due respect, the question is silly and stupid because it's not about leaving the European Union. It's about the European Union following its own rules. As a matter of fact, constituting the kind of solidarity that is required by the existing treaty.
Mr. Orban's, one of his election slogans is "Stop Brussels." I mean, that would sound like someone who does not want his country in the EU.
Now, it sounds like as if he wanted to stop the bad policies that are being pursued on behalf of European institutions.